God good? Uh, I'll get these little things over with that I want to say because there's this thing about me that whenever I get into this book and applying it to what He's done in this body, my eyes start to water bad. They they transplanted my liver, not my crier. It still works good. I've never had a problem with that. Someone told me the other day, said, "Man, you sure look a lot better." I said, "Well, my looks wasn't my problem, and you know, but they were. I promise." Uh, but I'll get into that in just a second. I leaned back to Jackie and said, "You know, all these years, and I lived with Dave and Brad and my sister Kay and Brother Phil several years, and they were just little boys, and I said I never. Dave couldn't say Gary, so he called me Dewey, and then he come up with this thing. I was the big Dewey, he was the little Dewey. Ain't that right? I leaned back to Jackie and I said, I never dreamed in all my years I'd go somewhere and preach where little Dewey was pastoring. And so, anyway, it is an honor to be here. I mean that. Thank you so much for the hospitality and the invite, Pastor, and I just appreciate it so very much. Um, let's get this Bruce Smithson thing out of the way, okay? He's good friends with y'all, right? I know him, okay? He's not a friend of mine. Don't nobody get me wrong. I don't claim none of that, but Dave said this is good church. I said, man, if it can put up with Bruce Smithson, it's got to be good. It's got to be strong, But I'm just kidding. I love Bruce and Rose, and I'm just hey, they celebrated 51 years this past week, and God help her, But I appreciate them and their work for God. They do a tremendous work, and I'm so thankful to be considered in His circle of friends. And I will get going here in just a second, but I want you to know something. I'll feel so at home by the time I'm through. Some of you folks will think y'all's visiting my church. That's how at home I'm gonna feel, because I'm just gonna be me. Okay, there's not a whole lot of me. Matter of fact, I don't know who all I am this morning. I have someone else's liver, and I'm glad that I do because mine played out. And but that's okay. God had a plan. I don't think none of that surprised or shocked God whenever it all happened. But I'm thankful for His grace and His patience to put up with me during all that, and still take care of every need that was presented. If you want to read something with me this morning, we'll go to the book of Luke. I want to just in the 18th chapter, I want to read starting with verse number 35. I always try my best to put myself, and I've done this ministry thing a long time. Started in '81. I've done this a long time. Been in lots of places, and then had to take about 5.5 years and not do it at all. And that was a depressing time, just because of health reasons. But God, when God does it, He does it in a big way, and I'm thankful for that. And it came to pass that as he was come nigh unto Jericho, a certain blind man sat by the wayside begging. And hearing the multitude pass by, he asked what it meant. The blind man asked. and they told him, Jesus of Nazareth he passeth by. And he cried, saying, Jesus, thou son of David, have mercy on me. They which went before, they rebuked him that he should hold his peace, but he cried so much the more, Thou son of David, have mercy on me. I don't believe he was whispering. He wasn't worried about making God nervous. He wasn't just being very, casual or polite. He was earnest, in need. He was desperate for a touch from God. He had heard about Jesus. He wouldn't have got so excited had he not heard about Jesus. How many's glad you heard about Jesus? Before I don't ever know anything but being raised in church. We went to an Assembly of God church when I was just a kid. And I mean, God would come down. That was back in the days when ladies would shout the bobby pins out of their hair. Shoes would fly. My mom would say, just lay down underneath this here seat and you won't get run over. I could tell everybody that went by because I recognized their feet. I've been in services where you got in, you got out, or you got run over. There's been services I've got in, there's been services I've got out, and there's been a few I got run over. But I know what it is to be desperate before God in my own life. To call on God without any reservation and say, God, if you don't do it, it's not going to get done. It's obvious. And this blind man was this way. And Jesus stood and commanded him to be brought unto him. And when he was come near, he asked him, saying, Jesus speaking here, What wilt thou that I shall do unto thee? And he said, Lord, that I might receive my sight. I just want to see. And Jesus said unto him, No biggie. Just receive your sight. And then told him something that was life-changing. He said, Thy faith hath saved thee. And immediately he received his sight and followed him, glorifying God. And all the people, when they saw it, they gave praise unto God. Now I want to just talk to you for a little bit this morning, and I'll try not to get. What time do y'all want out? Huh? 1 o'clock. Man, you're giving me 12 minutes more than what I've got to drive this afternoon, but I'm good with it. Hey, I don't go a long time once I get started. I'll let you know when we start, but nevertheless. And if I forget to start, we'll just start over, okay? But I want to talk to you about your identity. How many knows that people know you, they identify you with certain things in your life? I am identified in my hometown. I used to break and train horses. I'm identified as the guy that breaks and trains horses, or used to. God delivered me from that. The ground got harder every year. I rodeoed. I cowboyed. I was a pickup man in rodeos, and I loved it. I caught wild cattle all over the country. Oklahoma, in northeast Texas, Missouri, Mississippi, Tennessee, and all around Arkansas. We had the best horses, and we had big Catahoula dogs, and when we'd sick those dogs and they'd hang on. I had a dog that'd stop a ton bull just like that. And it's kind of odd when you're sitting on the back of a big old horse and you look at a bull he's wondering what in the world got a hold of my nose. And I'm known around there. I pastored church. I built churches. I done a lot of things. I had heavy equipment, built ponds and cleared land and semi trucks, and I sent them all over. And I'm known for a lot of different things. I was with someone last weekend, and they said, "Let's make a list of everything you've done." When I got done with the list, I thought, "Boy, dude, you can't keep a job very long, because there's no way." I've done all of it. I've worked funeral homes. I've worked. That's where I met Bruce. He's a lively character, but nevertheless, uh, I had a removal service. I picked up bodies all over the country. I've been Houston to Boston to everywhere else, picking up bodies and around our hometown. And then things changed. In 2016, I was diagnosed. My first diagnosis was, and I was telling Jackie a while ago, you have a severe case of cirrhosis of the liver. It wasn't the starting of, or it looks like it might turn to a severe case. I began to go to UAMS every month for them to tell me, well, it seems as if it may be getting a little bit worse. One time they told me, I said, "Well, what's this going to end up doing?" They said, "It'll be a transplant or death if a match can be found." 3 years ago, they offered me, I didn't have to fight for it, didn't have to beg for it. They offered me disability. I went on disability because I was unable to work. A little over 2 years ago, the doctor said, "We don't want you driving any at all." My son comes over. My oldest son was 25 at the time. And he come over and he said, "Dad, why don't we just sell your truck?" I said, "Why would I want to sell my truck?" "Well, you can't drive it. There's no need in paying insurance on it whenever it's just going to sit here." I said, "Well, I may feel like driving it in a day or two." He said, "Oh, no, you can't." I said, "Why not?" He said, "There's 2 sets of keys to that truck. I've got a set, and Austin, my youngest son, has a set. You're not driving." I thought about it, and I said, "I'll tell you what, just sell the truck. Ain't no need to sit in here. I don't want to just look at it and not be able to use it." Guy came the next day that he had already sold the truck to and picked it up. You ever feel like you've been had, And it just kept getting worse. They started taking, about a year ago, they started taking fluid off of me every week, off of my abdomen, off of my belly area. They take a needle about 7 inches long, stick it in my side, all the way. That didn't hurt. My side looks like a pin cushion today, and it's still tender. The shot they gave you to numb it up, that's the one that hurt. The cure was worse than the problem, it seemed like. And they would take off in an average of 6 liters of fluid every Thursday. Take me down to the cancer treatment area and give me albumin for my kidneys were shutting down. On the 4th seat, ma'am, in the burgundy sweater. Yeah, I know she was videoing them little old girls, and I ain't seen that phone out yet. No, don't let it do it. Let's don't go there. But I mean, I thought she was gonna hurt that girl in front of her. I'm thinking, look out, it's coming. Uh, but this thing kept going from bad to worse, and it was just 9 times they called me to UAMS and say, "We have the perfect match organ for you. We need you here as soon as possible. This started a year and a half ago. And we would get halfway and they'd call, say, look, go back home. This one's not going to work. One time I was in the hospital. They came down. They done all the lab work, all the stuff, getting ready for surgery that night. Transport nurses came down, got my bed, jacked it up with a foot pedal thing, and they started out in the hall. And the nurse come by and said, surgeon's going to come up, Dr. So-and-so going to come up in a little bit and talk with Gary. He said, just cancel the transport, and I knew what it was. In an hour, we were heading back home. Same liver, same death sentence. This went on 9 times. April the 21st, I went in for a paracentesis where they would drain the fluid, a weekly deal. There were times that I couldn't walk from where they would check you in to where they would take the fluid. They would have to take me in a wheelchair. That was one of those times. Took me down and they put the albumin in me after taking off 5.8 liters of fluid. I sat down in my chair that day and I knew this is the night when I'll see Jesus. Had the fever. I wasn't wishing for death. It was just, I knew that was the night that something, if something didn't happen, something was going to happen. I fought this in my mind all day, and that night I'm thinking about it. Should I call my boys and talk to them? You got to understand. I don't know if there's ever been a father as privileged as I am to have raised 2 boys by myself and be as close to them. My oldest son's 26. I never part company with him to what he don't come to me and bend down just a little bit and kiss me on the face. Hug me and say, Dad, I want you to know how much I love you. My youngest son, not quite as tall, he just has to walk up and kiss. And he'll say, Dad. They will text me randomly. Just wanted you to know, Dad, how much I love you. Call me up. I just don't need a thing, Dad. I just wanted to tell you again how I love you. They've given me the best 2 grandbabies that you could ask for. The best 2 daughter-in-laws. If I was picking them out, those are the ones I would have picked for them. They're precious. And they love old Dad. They never part company with me without hugging on me and me kissing them on the face and them telling me how much they love me. And I thought, should I call my boys? Because I know I'm checking out tonight. I sat there. And at 6:20, my phone rang. And whenever it rang, it literally scared me. I looked, and it was a number from UAMS. And the girl on the phone says, my name is Carson. I am one of the liver transplant coordinators. I am calling you with some good news. And I said, really? I didn't get too excited. And she said, yes, we feel like we have the perfect organ for a transplant for you. And I said, really? Yes, we do. And we need you to be here as soon as possible. I had to call one of my sisters to come get me. Incidentally, I have 7 sisters. I just tell everybody I got one for every day of the week. I got 2 brothers that are still living, 2 that are living in heaven. I'm the last of 12. My mom and dad really just wanted a good one. When they got him, they quit. My siblings don't agree. She said, my name is Carson. I'm calling with good news. We need you here as soon as possible. Got a perfect transplant organ. And I said, what makes you think this one is perfect? The other 9 hadn't worked. And she said, well, the 2 surgeons, that out of desperation, they kept 2 surgeons watching all the time for the offers to come online so they could find an organ that would work for me. She said, whenever this organ posted, they both called your name. And I thought, okay. All right. But that wasn't the dead giveaway. I said, what was the dead giveaway? And she said, it posted just after that it was coming from a brain dead donor, and one told the other one, this will match that joker just fine. Miss Video, that's not a laughing point, okay? It is kind of funny, though, you know. I mean, and so we got to Little Rock, and I'm laying in the bed, and this lady comes in, and she says, "My name is so and so. I am the transplant coordinator. I am the anesthesiast for your surgery tonight. They have you set up for 3 o'clock." It's about 2 o'clock in the morning then, and I said, 3 o'clock. She said, yes. I said, she said, I'm here to tell you the good and the bad about being put under. I said, I don't really want to hear none of it. She said, why? And I said, because I don't have a choice. If this don't work tonight, I know I'm going to die tonight. Her eyes welled up and tears started falling off her face, and she said, you really think? And I said, don't worry. I said, I win either way. If it works good, I win. If it don't, I win. And she said, okay. She said, do you have any questions? I said, do you really think this is going to go down tonight? It hadn't worked before. And she said, they called me from Hot Springs and got me out of bed and told me we had emergency surgery. I'm here. Nobody's told me different. We're going to go for it. And I said, let's go for it. They sent transport, took me down to pre-op. She walked through there and said, do you have any questions at all? I said, when are they going to get started? She said, just bring him on. And they took me down. Asked me if I could slide from the bed over to the operating table, and I couldn't. I was that weak. I broke and went to crying because I was unable to do that. I was afraid they were going to back out. She said, don't worry, we got it. She put a mask on me. She said, I want you to practice for a little while breathing through this mask. We get ready, closer to surgery. We'll put you asleep through your IV, but we want you to practice through this mask. It's okay, and they put it on. She said, just find your ceiling towel. And I found the ceiling towel, and I breathed 4 times, and somebody cut the lights out. They said it was the bloodiest surgery they ever done. They gave me 12 units of blood. They replaced all of the blood I had, plus 3 units of what they had given me during surgery. Next day after recovery, should have been a few hours, just at an hour, they put me in the ICU out of recovery. And the surgeon came in that evening. He walked in, he looked to his side and seen me, and he says, oh my. And I thought, what's wrong now? I said, Doc, what's the problem? He said, there's no problem, I guess. I don't get it. I've seen transformations. I've seen people change, but I've not seen nothing on this level before. He said, your color is perfect. And he said, have you noticed? And I said, no. He said, well, look. And I'm looking. And I'm not yellow. And I'm not green. And I'm not ash gray. You see, I hoped I wouldn't be ash gray every day when I looked in the mirror because I picked up bodies for a living. And I know what color they are. And he said, your color's perfect. Your voice is so strong. I was taking 4 deep breaths to give out a 10-digit phone number. And he said, the clarity of your mind is absolutely amazing. And I said, I've never been told that in my life. I'm glad you didn't laugh at that one. You didn't, I know. And so, he said, man, he said, it blows my mind. He walked out, he turned and looked back, and he said, I would say that probably somebody had a hand in this besides me. I said, I'd say so. The next day they come in. I'm supposed to be in the ICU for 3 to 4 days. And they come in. They said, we're going to take the ports out of the side of your neck. I thought they were going to leave them in as long as I was in the ICU. And she said, yeah, they got a room ready for you on the 9th floor. You're fixing to go to a regular room. And I said, a regular room? Have I been asleep for 3 days? And she said, no, you've not been asleep at all. And I said, okay, what's going on? She said, they don't know. You don't need to be in the ICU. They put me in a regular room, said you'll have to be in here 3 to 4 weeks so we can check you 5 and 6 times a day. Okay, now I got to look at that room. I've been in that room several times. Thought, I ain't never found nothing in this room worth looking at for 3 weeks or 4 weeks. So I told the nurse, I said, would you get me another gown? And she said, you got one. I said, if you don't know by now, they don't close in the back. And she said, you're in bed. What difference does it make? Or it's more like, you're in the bed. It don't really matter if the backside's covered. I said, I'm going to go walk. And if you don't give me another gown, I'm probably mooning everybody out here in this hospital. She said, I want to tell you something about hospitals. You lose your dignity, okay? I'm just telling you. She said, let me get a gown. So she got a gown, and we went out and we made the big circle of the whole 9th floor. Wow. Wasn't this the fastest I'd ever moved, but we were moving. And so the surgeon comes in that afternoon and says, looking good. I said, well, thank you. He said, well, your color's still perfect. Your voice is strong. Said, your mind's clear. I wouldn't even know who. I couldn't tell you my name. I know who it was. They'd say, can you tell me your full name? And I couldn't do it. Well, can you tell me your date of birth? I couldn't do it. Can you tell me who the president is? And I said, we don't got one. He said, I'll give you that one. And they'd ask me every day, can you tell me what today's date is? Well, them nurses, they write that every morning, on that board. And I said, yeah, I could think a whole lot better if you'll scoot over about 4 inches. And they'd say, you're right, you're getting better. I said, yeah, that's right. But my mind was clear. I don't remember a lot that went on 3 years prior to April 21st. But you go back when I was 20 or so, and I can tell you every detail of what went on. And so I was in that room 1 week from a day of surgery. They said, we're going to let you go home. I said, what? Yeah, you can go to your sister's, which is David's mother. They lived within an hour of UAMS, and said, you have to be there 5, 6 weeks or so. You have to be within an hour of the hospital. That's just the way it is. Okay. You got to understand, my sisters, they baby me still. I don't mind staying with them. My mama said, get all the girls here. About 2 months before she died, said, get all the girls here. I said, get all the girls here. Sunday at 2 o'clock, I want them all here. I said, ain't going to happen, Mom. Forget it. She said, 2 o'clock Sunday. I called them, and they all showed up. They was all in there in the kitchen area just laughing and goofing off like girls. Guys don't do that, but girls do. She said, girls, y'all come in here. I need to talk to you. And I said, listen, if y'all's going to get into that girl talk, I'm going back over to my house, and y'all just have a ball. And she said, sit down. I said, what? This is about you. I thought, oh, I didn't know y'all found out. And I don't even know what I'm supposed to have done. And she said, girls, I want to tell you something. I don't know when, and I don't know what. I want y'all to promise me that when something happens to my baby, y'all will take care of him. My friend, I want you to understand, they honored Mom's wishes. I never was in the hospital by myself. I never had to worry about going nowhere. If I wanted to go, somebody was there to take. I don't know how Mom knows. I don't get that. She made sure that I was going to be took care of. Incidentally, since that transplant surgery, they're not so much caregivers, they're bosses. They're hard bosses too. I was driving a dump truck second day, about 6, 7 weeks after my surgery. I was feeling good. And my sister Kay called. Dave's mom said, "What's all that noise I hear?" I said, "Well, I'm driving a dump truck. Can you believe that?" She said, "What?" I said, "I'm driving a dump truck." She said, "You go get out of that truck. You can't do that." And I said, "Yeah, I can." She said, "But it's too rough." I said, "It's got air ride." "But it's too hot." I said, "It's got air condition." She said, "It don't make no difference. I don't want you driving that. It's just way too soon." I said, "Okay." Well, I got off the phone, and just a few minutes, another one of my sisters called. I said, "Hello? What do you mean driving a dump truck?" I said, "I wonder who told you." So it passed on down the line. I don't know how many of them called, but nevertheless, I seen my surgeon at 12 weeks. After surgery, he walked in the room, and I stood up to shake his hand. He looked at me, he shook his head, and he said, "My Lord, son, you don't look like you've ever been sick a day in your life." I said, "But we know different, don't we?" He said, "We know that we wouldn't be here today had that not have worked." And we talked a little bit, and I said, "You know, Doc, I never want to be in your presence without thanking you again of how much you've done for me." He said, "Listen, I got to tell you something. I'm gonna fess up to you. We wasn't guinea pigging and we wasn't trying to experiment. But," he said, I gotta share something with you. You don't know. And I know you're going since the 4th of June. I've been in the pulpit every weekend somewhere doing just what I'm doing now. Let somebody know, don't give up on God. He's not giving up on you. If you don't quit, He won't quit. See, I was known, this man in our reading was known as blind Bartimaeus. That's all anybody, a kid could ask his dad, "Dad, who is that?" He said, "Well, that's blind Bartimaeus." But when Jesus come by, He changed his identity because he wasn't blind anymore. Well, I want you to understand, everybody in our country up there knew that old Gary was about to end this thing. It was about to be over. But Jesus passed by. You can call me whatever, I guess, but don't call me man with liver disease anymore because he passed by. I'm not sick no more. Never felt as good as what I feel today. And my surgeon said we turned down several organs that would have worked fine for you. Why? I was about to die, Doc. He said because they were too far away. Not enough time to get them flown in and get them put in before they would go to ruin. I said, okay. He said, but 2 days before your surgery, the FDA signed their approval on a special pump. They could put a liver on this pump, and they said it would last longer between harvest and transplant. He said, and yours is the first one the pump was ever put on. And it looks to me like it works very well. He said, you are the poster child for the pump. I said, man, you just confirmed what I've been thinking all along. He said, now what's that? I said that the Lord finished this thing before He ever started it. See, God remembers tomorrow. Do you understand what I'm saying? He knows what the future holds. We don't, but He does. God knows what tomorrow holds. He knows what the next day holds. If some of us probably knew what the next few days holds, it might scare us to death. But God knows. And God knew that there'd come a time whenever I would have to have a transplanted liver that would match me perfect. It had to be the same blood type, had to have other matches, it had to be the right size. And I done signed my consent to take a liver with hepatitis C just to be able to live longer. He said, they put this liver on this pump, and it come in. He said, I don't even know if we'll ever be able to tell you who the donor's family is because it came from so far away. I don't know where far away is, but it's a long ways. And he said, I just want you to know that because I know what you're doing. You're going to churches every weekend because you told me you was going to if you ever got able. And he said, and you're telling folks what God has done. Go ahead and tell them that He okayed the making of a liver pump. He provided you a liver through the invention of a pump that saved your life. Let me just tell you this morning, I want you to know that God provided a liver pump that they could put a liver on for old Gary that saved my life April the 21st. I'm here today because God said I'd be here today. I've been in the pulpit every weekend since the 4th of June telling somebody about what God has done. Letting them see the proof. Someone said, you are a miracle. I said, oh, no. I'm the results of God doing a miracle. He put this thing together. He made this happen. No, you don't think that there's anything special about me. It's not. It's just my God is so special. My sister called me, my baby sister. She's 2 years older than me. And she called me the first of the week. And she said, Gary, I got to talk to you. And I said, okay. I'm calling you because you know about kind of what I'm going through here. I said, all right. She said, the other day I got up and my left eye went to flashing, like on and off. Light and dark. Light and dark. So I went to the eye doctor. They tried to dilate it to see what was going on. They couldn't get my eye to dilate. So they started doing tests. They tested me for a brain tumor. They tested me for a cancer behind my eye. She said they've done all these tests and they all come back negative, but now she said it's getting worse. They're testing me. They tested me Monday. She said, this when she called me, she said they tested me today for MS. I said, okay. She said, I just want you to know so you can be praying. I said, I probably won't be praying too much about that. How come? I said, what I'm most likely going to do is just go ahead and thank God in advance for Him taking care of this, because the Bible says we can call the things that are not as though they were. I said, I'm not gonna have and settle for this. There may be MS. Wednesday she called me back and she said, I got the test results. I said, okay, give me the test results. And she said, they all come back as suspicious MS. They're going to do more tests Friday. They took x-rays of my brain and everything, and they're doing more tests this Friday. I will call you after the test Friday evening. My phone rang. And I picked it up and I said, hello. She says, Gary. I said, yeah. I got my test results back already today. I said, okay. She said, I'm going to send you a couple of pictures. The first picture is the picture where they suspected MS. The second picture is today. No sign of MS. I'm telling you, the pictures are as different from daylight and dark. Well, matter of fact, they are daylight. One of them is very dark in the brain. The other one is perfect. And I said, see there? I knew God had this all along. I was in a church a few weeks ago, and a lady come up in the prayer service and said, Gary, I want you to I want you to pray. My dad goes in for a biopsy tomorrow. They done told us to make sure everything was in order. It don't look good. Okay. We prayed for her dad. Her husband stepped up and said, I've been hurting on the inside. My wife has tried to rub my back, try to help it, or whatever, can't get to it. He said, I don't know what's going on, but I just know it ain't good. I said, well, let's just pray for that. We prayed for that. The next morning, he got up, put his work clothes on. She said, what are you doing? You got an appointment with a specialist today. And he said, I don't need no appointment. Sometime during the night last night, he said everything just quit hurting. Just quit hurting. He said, I'm going to work. I'm not giving the devil any room to come back. He said, I'm stepping out in faith and going to work. Still, he don't have no problems. She called my sister and she said, my dad went in Monday for his biopsy. I didn't say autopsy a while ago, did I? There's a little difference in that. She said, went in for the biopsy, and he said, would you just x-ray, do whatever again before? I want to know we're doing what's right. They come back in and they said, we're not sure what's going on. We're not going to biopsy because there's nothing in there to biopsy. We know what kidneys look like. We know what lungs look like. We know what the heart looks like. We know what the liver looks like. There's nothing that don't belong in your body now like there was the other day. You see, I'm telling you this morning, church, we're still serving a God that knows how to take care of His business. His business is to take care of His children. His children are folks like you and I. Folks like us that need God. We depend on God. We're nothing without God. Somebody asked me the other day, said, Gary, you still feeling good? I said, I've never felt better. There's still some things I'm not doing. I'm not breaking a horse tomorrow. I've got one that needs to be started, but I'm not going to do it tomorrow. I've got other things that I'd like to do. I was going to go deep sea fishing last week, and I really didn't want to, so I called the doctors in Little Rock, and I said, hey, I got this here trip planned, and I want y'all to tell me if I need to go or not. Okay, what is it? And I told them. They said, no. They said, huh? That is an exciting trip. And you wouldn't be calling us if you really wanted to go. So, no, you can't go. I said, thank you. So I called my cousins and said, look, my doctor's told me I don't need to do this. Oh, we hate that. I said, oh, don't we, though? See, we're the same God that parted the Red Sea. I still talk to Him. The same one that provided the manna from above, parted the Jordan so many times that the Jordan didn't know if it was coming or going. The one that caused the walls to fall whenever the children walked around them, seventh time on the seventh day, and they all crumbled. I still talk to that God. I still communicate with Him. I don't have to go to prayer. Man, I drive down the road saying, God, what do you think about this? And I'll see something that just blows my mind. I say, Lord, did you ever outdo yourself on that? Because He still spoke it all into existence. I still believe that. I don't care. I don't care what people say. It don't bother me what people say. You got to understand, I grew up in the country. Okay, I still know what bathroom boys are supposed to go in. I don't care what Biden says. It don't matter to me what, you know, this one thinks or that one thinks. Opinions are like noses. Everybody's got them. If they don't line up with this book right here, they're no good. But I just come to let you see this morning, we're still serving a God that's on the throne. Jesus said he sits at the right hand of God making intercession for you and I. Everyone is important to him. I was thinking a while ago when the girls were up here. Which one of them played and which one of them sang? Okay. The second time that, which one is it that sang? London sang. I know Little Dewey, but I can't keep the girls straight. The second time she sang, I don't know if y'all noticed or not, but when she came in, sounded like Vestal Goodman almost. I could just picture the Lord getting people's attention up there and say, hey, look at here. You're important to him. That's why he's not going to turn his back on you. He cares about you. He's going to walk with you through the thick and the thin. He's going to be there as a friend that sticks closer than a brother. He's going to take care of what he said because his promises are still yea and amen. And every one of them in this book right here belong to you and me. There's nothing the devil can do to void that out. He's tried. I'll tell you what, he tried to take me out. I'm going to tell you something. I never dreamed or heard anybody describe the valley of the shadow of death to be as long and as deep as what I experienced. I'd almost ask God, can I just go ahead and die? I planned a dinner. I'm fixing to wrap this thing up. I planned a dinner for the 4th of May. 4th of May. I bought 8 or 10 Boston butts to be smoked on smokers. I bought all kinds of things for baked beans and potato salads and all this stuff. My sister said, we'll help you. What are you doing this for? That's because I don't want to leave this world. I do not want to leave this world, and it looks like that's what's going to happen, without as many people as I can get there, knowing that I thank God for the blessings he's given me in my life. I said, my 2 sons and my 2 grandbabies, you see, the doctors told us on Austin's little baby Wilder, he's 7 months. They told us at 2.5 months that before he is 6 months old, he'll have to have open heart surgery. And Austin called him. He called Dad and he said, Dad, I got to tell you something. Didn't want to tell you this while you were sick. It's okay. And he said, they say Wilder's going to have open heart surgery before he's 6 months old. He's got 2 arteries that are routed wrong in his heart, and his blood's not getting the oxygen it needs. I said, okay. Is that what they said? He said, yeah. I said, have you looked at Dad lately? He said, well, yeah. I said, I've been through too much to settle for the first thing that comes along. I'll talk to God about this. He said, I knew you would, Dad. That's why I called. They went back at 3 months or so and down to Children's this time to get the final scoop on everything that had to happen. And they said, not sure what's going on. I like it when they say that. That's the only time they'll ever tell the truth, you know. If there's doctors in here, I was just playing. I didn't mean that, but they said, we're not sure what's going on, but we're not even going to look at doing anything until probably 3, 4 years old. If it keeps going like it is, probably ain't never going to have to do anything anyway. Let me tell you what that little rascal will do. He's 7 months old now, weighing about 17.5 pounds. Looks like he's got rubber bands around his wrist and his elbows, where his little arms are just so chunky. But I can walk in the room where he's at, and his arms just go up. Well, that just kind of makes me feel good. He can say Dada and Mama and Bye Bye. I ain't got that pawpaw thing out of him yet. I think his mama's keeping that from happening. That boy's a picture of health. You see, we don't have to settle for everything the devil throws. But I scheduled this dinner. I'm so thankful for all these blessings, and I thought, I ain't got to enjoy them as much as I would have liked. But God, you've sure been good to let me have them for the time that I've had. And I wanted people to hear me say that. I wanted to boldly state that before God and people. 2 weeks before that dinner, I had transplant surgery. Couldn't be around nobody. On June the 24th, we rescheduled the dinner. There's 80, 85 people there. And we rescheduled that dinner, and I got up and I told them what the reason I had scheduled it before and what I was going to say. I said, but now that's not my statement I want to make. I just want to tell you how thankful I am. I want God to know how thankful I am to get to be here and watch these boys and watch these babies grow and enjoy my girls and enjoy my family and enjoy the things of God. A year ago this past August, I was in a camp meeting, got out of the intensive care on a Thursday about noon. And that night service, I went into the campground down at Bologna. Didn't need to be there, but I wanted to be there. Phil Redding and my ex-father-in-law, Eddie Slinker, pastors a church over in Boonville, down in Boonville. They come back where I was at, and they said, would you come up and let all these preachers pray for you? And I said, sure, if I can get up there. And they literally had to help me up there. They prayed and they sought God, and I mean, somebody asked me up there, said, Mike Shadden said, man, what is it? He said he'd give us the desire of our heart. What is your desire of your heart? If you could just ask God for one thing, what would it be? And I said, Brother Mike, I'd like to get in the pulpit just one more time. Well, he gave me that over and over and over. I'm booked until the first week in December now. I don't even look for time off. Okay, I don't look for time off. I don't even want time off. I just want to go. I sat down in the breakfast thing this morning, and a younger family walked in, and I said, as the husband had to go do something, I asked the young lady, I said, they had 3 beautiful kids. I said, so where are you guys from? You take it, they're traveling, they're in a motel. She said, we're from Northeast Arkansas. Really? We're at Brooklyn. You probably don't know where Brooklyn is. I said, yeah, between Jonesboro and Perryville. I know exactly where it's at. It's right on that 49. That's a death highway, if you want to know. Everybody has wrecks. It's a straight highway, and everybody just has wrecks. I guess they just ain't got nothing else to do. And she said, that's it. That's it. Where are you from? I said, well, actually, I own 2 houses. I've done got evicted by my boys both times. I live with one of my sisters now in Walnut Ridge when I'm there. She said, really, Walnut Ridge? I know Walnut Ridge. I know some folks and started calling their names. I said, oh, yeah, I know. I know. I thought, how small is this world? I was in Beaumont, Texas, last Sunday morning. Walked into church, and one of the greeters come back to me and said, "Well, you're new. Where are you from?" I said, "Northeast Arkansas." She said, "Up by Pocahontas? That's only 14 miles from where I live." I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "Yeah, I got family there." It's okay. All right. You're just about wondering if they know something about you. You don't want it out. And so I'm telling you, God's good. I'm here today because Jesus passed by, changed my identity. I'm not the guy that's dying. I'm the guy that's living. I'm not the yellow guy anymore. It's just a streak down my back, and you can't see that. Go ahead, laugh, man. I really do. I want to tell you how much I appreciate y'all listening to me this morning. And I want to tell you something. Y'all know this. You guys are blessed to have this family right here. I mean that. Dave and I have always been close. I moved off first of '86. I moved to West Plains, Missouri, and took a youth pastor position of a church. Brother O.C. Clements from the Glad Tidings Church died. They called and told me. I love Brother O.C. Clements, an old part Cherokee man. So I came in for the funeral. When I pulled up in the drive, Dave was sitting on the front steps of the house. Met me before I ever got my truck stopped. Took me by the hand, walked me in the house. Said, "Mom, look here." I said, "How long's he been sitting out there?" And she said, "All day. He knew you was coming." See, we watched rodeos when they were little on TV. So they decided if I would be the bull, they would ride. Brad was a little older and just a little wiser. And so he'd say, Dave, I'm going to ride the bull. And I put a belt around me, and they'd get their hand on my back. "I'm going to ride the bull. You count to 8, because that's all you got to do is ride to 8. Oh, Dave, he'd get excited. Brad would tell him, he'd just keep pumping him up, and he'd say, "All right, go." And I'd just get started, but old Dave, he'd go, "What is the process of me?" And old Brad, he'd win. And old Dave would get on there, and if I throwed him off, I got to get him like a bull will. And Brad would go, "You ready?" "Yeah." "Count. 1, 2. I'd pile old Dave, and then I'd get him. He said, "Brad, you're just counting too slow. You got to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8." Y'all excuse that. I was a licensed bonded auctioneer, so I can do numbers fast. But you'd have thought Brad or Dave was, whatever he was little. But I love this couple. I don't know anything to tell about Jackie. I can make some stuff up if y'all got a minute. If I'm gonna say anything good about Bruce, I'm trying to think of something good to say, but I can't. But anyhow, I just want you to know, you guys are blessed to have this couple, and you know that. Would you just give them a hand clap of just appreciation? Would you come, Dave? Again, thank you so much for letting me be here and tell my story about how good God is.
Did you enjoy that? Hey, listen, we are not naive to the fact that God's over his people, right? We go through things. I just want to say again to Mr. Ron and your family and Derek and Virginia, it's good to see you guys. Thank you for coming. It's good to see Mr. Ted here. And I really appreciate everyone that's here. Would you stand real quick? And we're going to pray. We're going to pray. If there's anyone here this morning, maybe you have a physical need or something, would you just raise your hand? We just want to pray with you this morning as we dismiss. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, Jesus, you are so worthy. God, we are so thankful for who you are. We're thankful that you stand in all authority. We're thankful for what you've done on the cross. Lord, I speak life and health into each one of us. I speak favor. I speak safety, God. Give us wisdom as we walk out of these doors this morning. We thank you for all that you've done. And I appreciate Gary. I ask that you would continue to give him traveling mercies as he travels around telling about how God has given him new life. We thank you for your blessings that you have given us. We ask this in Jesus' name. And everybody said amen. Remember, no meeting tonight. Would you do me a favor? Would you shake hands with 65 people and let them know it's so good to see them? We appreciate